Now is a very critical time for the fine arts, and especially classical music, opera, chamber music, these genres. It's important to understand that these things were always subsidized, whether that was by government, which is a lot of the tradition in Europe, still to this day, or by wealthy individuals. Let's not forget that a lot of composers, Western European composers we know today, were employed by royalty or were commissioned for works by royalty, etc. And so this is something that was always seen by society as necessary and as one of the strands that creates a strong societal fabric. Unfortunately, that understanding has waned, and that presents a great challenge. I'm not speaking out of school here. There are many of my colleagues who have spoken very broadly about this. Peter Gelb, the general manager of the Metropolitan Opera, in an interview recently saying, unfortunately, a lot of the new billionaires don't care about classical music and the arts, which is unfortunate. And so I think there are a couple elements at play here. We have to work very, very hard to do whatever we can to increase that understanding and therefore that support by telling the story of how do arts organizations, why do we exist? What do we bring? Even if you're not attending, what does it bring to your community? Even if it's not your thing. And then telling the story of how we do bring those things. And then some of the onus is on us in the industry. I believe that for a long time there was a build it and they will come idea, which I think is total baloney. And especially now, that we really have to make sure that we are engaging with consumers where they are, which means that anybody in the audience under 30, which is certainly also our next donor class, are digital natives, and treating them as such, communicating with them as such, and understanding how this moves into the future and how we're innovating in the way that we do the art and the way that we communicate it to other people and the way that we advertise it and bring people in and engage them. There's a lot of work inside of the arts, and there's some exciting things going on in this regard. And, you know, I could go on and on about some of the initiatives that we have in Austin and in Spoleto to do this, but this is critical work. It has to happen now. It's existentially necessary. And it is starting to happen. And, you know, we need to all encourage that to grow so that we ensure a vibrant future for these art forms. And I'll tell you, one of the main reasons that I believe it to be necessary is I remember coming out of COVID, the first thing I ever conducted in a theater with, I mean, everyone's still masked and everything, but in a theater that felt somewhat normal was Mozart's Marriage of Figaro. And this is what we would call, like, you know, an upstairs downstairs story, like Downton Abbey, right? Kind of thing. And it's about classicism. And Mozart was giving a big middle finger to the upper class because they thought they were, you know, he was writing this for them, and he was writing and it was for them. But the bottom line is what ends up happening in the opera is that he sort of thinly disguises that the upper class people are kind of idiots with the wrong priorities, and that the servants are the one who win the day, right? I remember at that time having the world gone through what it had gone through and was still continuing to go through, and looking at it through the lens of this opera that was 200 some years old and saying, you know what? This is why art is important, because the human condition never changes.
Right.
And everything else around us, Brandon, is targeted to make you believe that your condition changes, right? Self-optimization, doing this, dry January, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I'm doing dry January, so I'm not, you know, but you know what I'm saying? Like, we're all of these things, and we're constantly marketed all of these things. This will make your life better. This will make you better. It'll make you thinner and your skin better looking and all of this stuff. And all of marketing is meant to make you discontent with what you have. And I think art allows us to step back and say, we never really change. Our primal desires are the same. There will always be tribalism. There will always be love. There will always be loss. All of these things, these are human emotions and experiences that remain the same over the centuries, and we should keep that in mind.
Beauty at Work is brought to you by Templeton Religion Trust. If you enjoyed this clip, go check out the full episode. And please take a moment to subscribe and leave us a review. It really helps get the word out about the show. Thanks, and see you next time.